Disruption. That's the theme today. That's the theme of that commercial. And Steve Jobs was a master at disruption. That Macintosh you saw was the first computer you could really bring home in a box, plug into your wall. It starts the home computer revolution. Steve also is a disruptor of many other industries. The way we listen to music, disrupted by the iPod. The way we could buy music, albums, disrupted by iTunes. The phone turns us into a mobile computing society, as does the iPad. And the iPad, of course, disrupts my old industry, the industry of publishing, especially those of us who can remember the joys of publishing a weekly magazine on paper, something that was so 20th century, or 15th century if you want to go back to Gutenberg. But disruption is obviously nothing new. You know, the great disruption of the Industrial Revolution came when they created looms that used punch cards and sometimes even steam to replace the weavers who are making beautiful patterns. Lord Byron was a Luddite. By that I mean he actually was a Luddite. He supported Ned Ludd, the people who were smashing the looms, the followers of Ned Ludd in the Midlands of England. His only speech in the House of Lords said that this type of disruption would put people out of work, would destroy people's livelihoods, and that's what the loom owners were doing. In fact, throughout history, starting with the Industrial Revolution, something magical has always happened, which is that disruption and technology has led to more opportunities, more productivity, and even more jobs. This is something that Lord Byron's daughter, Ada Lovelace, understood quite well. Ada Lovelace was the only legitimate child of Lord Byron. She traveled the Midlands and loved the way those looms were using punch cards to do something beautiful. And that, to me, is the first lesson of disruption and what we do in any field, whether it's services or products or nonprofits or NGOs, whatever we're doing. It's to connect the idea of the humanities to technology, to connect the arts to the sciences. When Ada Byron Lovelace, or Ada Byron, the Countess of Lovelace, saw those punch cards and how they instructed the looms to weave beautiful patterns, she thought of a machine that a friend of hers was building, a guy named Charles Babbage, who was creating what was called the analytical engine. It was a machine that was supposed to calculate equations. It was a numerical calculator, but very complicated, and it worked by putting in punch cards. And she made the connection that if those punch cards could do something beautiful like weave patterns, the punch cards in the analytical engine could do more than process numbers. They could process anything that was notated in symbolic form. In other words, they could make patterns, they could make music, as she said, they could make art, they could process words. In other words, she came up with the concept of the modern-day computer. That was her great contribution of connecting the arts to the sciences. That was Steve Jobs' genius as well, a belief that beauty mattered. He said, when I first started working with him on a biography, he said that he loved being a humanities kid when he was growing up. He loved reading poetry, doing calligraphy. But he also was fascinated by electronics. And then he read something that Edwin Land, the creator of Polaroid, wrote, which was that those who can stand at the intersection of the arts and the sciences will be the disruptors, will be the innovators, will be the most creative. And Steve said, that's where I always wanted to stand.